Hi, this is Donald here. Today I will be reviewing The Alchemist by Paulo Coehlo, who is a Brazilian author. The Alchemist is a story of a young boy. It's kind of a coming of age story, so maybe a young man, called Santiago, who's a wandering shepherd in the Andalusian foothills of Spain. He has a recurring dream of finding treasure in Egypt, near the pyramids. Santiago initially ignores his dreams, but eventually decides to take a chance and pursue his dream and have faith in himself. And he has an epic adventure to the pyramids. And his quest is multifaceted. It's not just, a quest of trial and hardship, but there's also a lot of growth, doubt, friendship, and self-reflection. A lot of self-reflection, actually. During his adventures, Santiago will discover himself and his role in the world, and he will understand what the soul of the world is, which is a topic that the author explores in this novel. I bought a physical edition of this book, which is this red book that you can see in front of you, and I really, really dig this red and yellow-orange combination. I just really like it. I think it looks very elegant and beautiful and I think it fits the settings of the book very well. I didn't care for the paper itself. The paper wasn't anything special. It also had deckled pages, which if you're not familiar with, that is the roughened kind of hand look of the paper. I didn't think it was necessary, and I don't really think it added much to the book. So characters. I enjoy the characters in the book. I think each character brings with him his own strengths and weaknesses, but he also brings with him his own little truths and a unique personality. And the number of characters seems to be, by design, quite minimal. So the boy will encounter many people, but it's not like another story where you're going to have 50 characters in it. The book is centered on Santiago and his adventure, and I felt that the characters were there to help him reflect on his own life, where each character reflected perhaps a little bit of him, but also a different part of people and humanity in general, which I thought the author did a good job of putting these characters in and making them somewhat believable. I mean, there's some more eccentric or fantastical characters as well, but I thought for the most part they were well done, and I didn't really have any issue with this style. I really enjoyed the setting of the book. I've always really enjoyed Arabia and that area of the world. I think it has a really nice, exotic, but really elegant style to it, and the scenery is very vivid and beautiful. To me, the setting really worked well with the topic of the book, because although it's set in our world, it had a very exotic, unusual, somewhat fantastical vibe. You're really with this boy on an adventure, exploring what I imagine for most people would be the unfamiliar. Because the book is about the main character, Santiago, it's really important that, you enjoy being with him on his adventure. And I felt that Santiago was highly likable, fun, relatable. He has both strengths and weaknesses that are very understandable. I never really felt annoyed at his decisions or cringed at some of his choices. They never felt forced. They always felt believable to me. And I felt very sympathetic with his plight, and I was rooting for him the whole time. The story is unique and deep. I felt that the author really cared about the messages and themes in the story, and I could just feel that through his writing. Overall, I felt the mood of the story was hopeful and optimistic, which is something I wholeheartedly think we need more of in our lives, especially during these troubling COVID times. Paulo Coehlo's style of writing was accessible and fun to read, and for the most part, I enjoyed every bit of it. I thought the story was, I don't know if I would be so bold as to call the story timeless, but it's certainly one I will be going back on and thinking about for many years. Would I recommend this book? I would absolutely recommend this book for both children and adults. And I actually think it would make a very, very captivating bedtime story that children would love, and even adults if you're into that. It's a book I'll certainly revisit and read because of its themes and hopefulness. It's just a very uplifting book, in my opinion. So, some of the pros. It looks nice physically. I think it looks good on a bookshelf. It looks good on a table. I think the story is enduring and inspiring, and I believe that most people will find the story to be likewise. It's not a very divisive story at all. It has good characters and dialogue. The settings are exotic, and it really feels like an adventure with the boy. There's both a lightness and a depth to its writing. And what I mean by that is there's enjoyment to be had on multiple levels, whether you want to dive in on some of the deeper meanings and quotes, or if you just want to read it as an adventure story. And I felt that the author really put his heart into the story and put some of himself in it. So, cons. I don't have really too many cons. The only two cons I had were, one, the deckled edges, which seemed unnecessary. I felt that it didn't really add anything aesthetically to the book, and I don't really mind either way, but for this book it just didn't seem like it really was necessary. And sometimes the book can get preachy, where kind of an obscure character will tell obscure things and the boy has to figure it out, and sometimes it repeats and it gets a little bit into philosophy and, the purpose of life and that kind of stuff. That concludes my review of The Alchemist. If you have any comments or suggestions below, or if you disagree with me or agree with me, please post it in the comments below. Thanks.